You claim that you two dated. Is that true?
Here and there.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't put a title on it for dating.
Okay. And you claimed in your answer that she braided your hair all the time for free. And
Well,
she just mentioned 3 occasions.
Yeah, well, Your Honor, I actually said in my statement it was 2 to 3 times. We didn't really date that long. It was from the beginning of September to mid-October, so
Okay.
it was only a month and a half.
Okay, so
it was only a handful of times she's actually done my hair.
So how many times did she do your hair for free?
2 times.
No,
That's
one
not true?
time.
So the first time she braided your hair, did you pay her $65?
Yes, I did. The charge was $50 is what she told me, and I gave her $15 for a tip.
The second time she braided your hair was when?
I want to say September 12th. I'm not sure, but it was maybe
Was it when she was using you to try a new style?
No, that was latter in. That was the last time before I just went in April.
Okay, so the second time that you're speaking of, she didn't charge you.
No.
And this is when you two were dating.
Yes, Your Honor.
The third time, was it when she was practicing on you?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And that was free, of course.
Yes.
And then the fourth time, according to you, was why we're here.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. I noticed that in your complaint, Ms. Martin, you had to take the braids out first.
I did.
So it's a little more work for you to take the braids apart.
Yes.
And then braid them back up. Okay. So that is what you had to do this last time.
Yes.
There was no conversation about charging him this last
there
time?
was.
There was? What was the conversation?
Yeah, I told him my pricing again because I charge a little bit more for the takedown service, so it's $25 for the takedown service. Because if you were to go to a hair salon or anything like that, they're going to charge you for the takedown service. They're going to charge you for a wash and blow dry because they're not going to work on dirty hair. So I worked on his dirty hair. I didn't blow dry it or anything like that, so it's just $25 for the takedown, and then my normal $60 for the braiding.
And you claim that there was no conversation?
The conversation that she's referring to was aftermath. Those are all conversations.
It wasn't while you were at, you went to her place to get your hair
Yes,
braided?
I left her place and everything, and all conversation that was had about pricing was after I'd already left.
Why were you expecting the services to be free?
It wasn't that I necessarily expected it, but I grew accustomed to doing that because that's what we had done for the most part of the times that I'd known her. I only paid her one time, and then I also ended up finding out as I dated her that she was unlicensed, which she technically can't.
Would that have mattered to you?
It does matter to me because I'm not going to pay somebody that's unlicensed to do my hair, especially seeing that I'm in a relationship with that person.
But you weren't in a relationship with her.
The first time that I got my
I'm
hair
talking about
done,
this last time. You claim in your answer that you stopped talking or dating.
Yes.
And you asked her to do your hair.
That's correct.
Why were you expecting it to be free?
Because she's not licensed, so there's...
So why did you go to her to get your hair braided then?
Because I just wanted to get it done.
You allowed her to braid your hair without a license.
That's true.
But you won't pay her because she's not licensed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
It does make sense.
Yes.
Explain why it makes sense to you.
Because there was no agreement about payment, so it wasn't that I just grew accustomed to doing that, but there was no payment discussed.
You claim that you eventually paid her $30. Why would you just not at least expect her to charge you $50, like the first time?
Like she said and I said, we both agreed that there was a conversation of what would be costing if I was to go to her to get my hair done. When we just had this last appointment, there was no talk prior to me going about any monetary amount. So therefore, I grew accustomed or acclimated myself to the idea that I didn't have to pay her. It wasn't to ditch it. It wasn't because she's not licensed. It's because there was no
Okay,
talk.
like I go to a stylist. We do the same thing every time, every 2 weeks. We didn't have a conversation, an explicit conversation about pricing. But I know that I'm not going to a shop for free. I'm not going to waste his time to just not pay him anything.
Understandable.
So I'm wondering why you wouldn't pay her at least what you paid her the first time, which was $50. Why did you pay her $30?
Because she was messaging me over 100 times, called me a lot of times, saying that she was demanding money from me. And I told her that her and I never discussed that. So I said, well, I'll give you this amount if you maybe really need money.
How did you come up with $30?
I just threw that number out there,
Why would you not refer to at least the amount that you paid the first time?
Because it wasn't nothing that I predated in my head. I just threw out a number. Hey, I can give you $30. That's all it was.
When she said no.
She said, you know, I have in here in my evidence what's exactly what she said. But
What'd she say?
She said, I am not getting 30. The do you mean?
So basically, no.
And said that she said pricing, and previously I'd paid 65, and then she said that she was going to go to law enforcement.